Okay, so lovely of you to join us today. Today we're going to talk about um, meetings. So have you ever been in a meeting and had something amazing to say and then said nothing? You sit nodding, waiting for the right moment, and then someone else says the same thing, and now they look like a genius. So this is all about how to open your mouth in meetings and just speak. Okay, brilliant. So I'm just going to say one more time, if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat as we go along, and I will address all of the meetings at the end of the presentation. Okay, so when you're in meetings, how many times do you sit and think, I really want to contribute to this. I really have a great idea. And then you just don't, you don't say anything. Because I know that's happened so many times to so many of my students. So why do you hold back in meetings? Why don't you open your mouth and just contribute? It's a silent struggle. You think, what if I make a mistake? What if they don't understand me? What if my idea is actually terrible? Has this happened to any of you? Put your hand up if it's a yes. Because even as a native speaker, this happens when you're at the beginning of your career, when you just don't want people to look at you in case you make a mistake, in case you look silly. What's the cost of sitting silently? The cost of sitting silently is that you are just not visible. When you're visible, your boss knows who to promote. When you're visible, you become other managerial and managers and colleagues will realize who you are and how amazing you are. But when you're sitting quietly, no one has a clue. So no one knows that you are an expert. No one knows you have an amazing opinions and amazing ideas. How can they know if you don't communicate them? But how many times have you sat in a meeting and thought, I don't want to open my mouth? But because you're not alone. This happens to everyone. But staying silent isn't just frustrating. It's a missed opportunity to showcase your expertise and get the recognition that you deserve. Now, who's this presentation for? So if you're a non-native English-speaking professional who knows that you have valuable insights, but struggles to jump into discussions, worries about making mistakes or not sounding perfect, and wants to actually feel confident and own the room in meetings, this video is for you. For those of you who don't know me, I think most of you do, but for those of you who don't, my name's Joanne Hayward, and I am a business English communications expert. I help ambitious professionals go from quiet observer to confident speaker in global business settings. So what's the one piece of advice that you really need to know? There is one key piece of advice that will change every area of business. The fastest way to start speaking up in business without the fear of messing up, one key word, and that word is preparation. It's all about being prepared. Confidence is never about being perfect. It's about being prepared, being ready. So people say to me all the time, I don't know what people are going to say in meetings. And I would argue, sorry, I'm just letting a few more people in. I would argue that most people have a fair idea of what will be discussed. in a meeting. You obviously know what the topic of the meeting is. You know what elements will be discussed. With this in mind, you can absolutely make sure that you prepare ready for that particular topic and that particular situation. There are 3 power phrases here. I'd like to add something here. One point to consider is, in my experience, I found that. And there are many other phrases that you can learn off pat. You can just learn by rote. You don't have to think about them. You can just prepare them in advance and say, okay, I'd like to add something here. What do you want to add? Think about it. Prepare for those meetings. Don't just turn up with a pad and paper, pad of paper and a pen. Just turn up prepared with what you want to say. So, having these phrases prepared, knowing what opinions, what advice you want to share, what your input is, having this prepared with some really cool power phrases is like having a secret weapon. Because you're ready to go. You won't freeze up because you've already prepared what you want to say and how to say it. A lot of people go into meetings and they want to sit quietly just in case anyone asks any questions. They won't want to open their mouth to say anything because they don't want to make a mistake. Now, this is a guaranteed way of making sure that you are going into every meeting as powerfully as possible. Go in prepared, get some really great phrases ready to go, and then add on what you want to say. I'd like to add something here. Don't just prepare that phrase. What do you want to add? Think about what will be said, who might say it, and what you can add. What extra information you can add that will enable you to be visible, able you to be recognized. Start small. This is step 2. Start small and then build up. You don't have to start with a big speech. You don't have to start by standing up and making a huge presentation about what will work, what won't work, and everything else. Start when you're feeling nervous about speaking up in meetings. Just start. You can agree with a colleague. I totally agree with what you're saying. Ask a clarifying question. What do you mean by this word? How do you define the growth? Is it an amount? Is it a percentage? How do you define the growth? Summarize a key idea. So what you're saying is this. So next time you go into a meeting, pick one of these. If it's the first time that you're going in and you're feeling very nervous about it, pick one of these. And when you leave that meeting, celebrate the fact that you did it. You agreed with a colleague, even if it's a simple, yes, I agree. That's the first step to the world, to global domination. Everyone has to take the first step. So either agree with someone. I agree with Hatim's point. I'd like to add the following. If you're feeling brave, ask a question. Can you clarify what you mean by? Summarize. So what we're saying is this. Every time you contribute, every time you open your mouth, it becomes easier. Confidence comes with doing. So every time you do a little tiny bit, next time you can do that little tiny bit and add something. It becomes easier and easier. If your team is discussing budget cuts and you're unsure about saying anything, just say something like, I see both sides of this discussion. Can we explore how this will impact our long-term strategy? Does that sound cool? It's about preparing these phrases that you could prepare. You all know how to say these words. You can all put them together. It's just about preparing what you might like to say. And when you go into a meeting, everyone should know what you're going in for. Everyone should know. If you don't know, ask the person that's holding the meeting. What's the meeting about? So someone else is just coming in. Okay. So the first thing was prepare. Second one, take small steps. Small steps lead to big wins. Everyone needs to start at the beginning. You don't jump in and become a CEO of a company. You start off at a lower level and work your way up, unless it's your own company. And then you start small with just a few clients, and then you work your way up to whatever you want. But you have to start small and work your way up. Make sure that you're stretching yourself every single day. And the third step, the power of your voice. Even if you're nervous, how you say something matters. So you could say, yes, maybe we could try a different approach. Or you could say, I think we could try a different approach. One that focuses more on client engagement. Which one sounds better? I think we both know the second one. But you're saying the same thing in a slightly different way. So get that preparation in place. Use those power phrases. And then practice what you're saying, practice what you want to say, and then get in and just do it. Slow down. This is just such a great piece of advice, because a lot of people who don't have English as their first language feel that the faster they say something, the more native they sound. This is simply not true. First of all, native English speakers may speak quickly around certain people, but when they're making presentations, they make them slowly because they want everyone to understand what they're saying. When you speak too quickly and you're not confident about your pronunciation, or you're not confident about what you want to say, and you speed it up, that will make things more difficult to understand. If your pronunciation is not so good and you try and merge words together, it becomes really difficult to understand. I have to be honest. But the same person can speak slowly and calmly, and it means that people can understand everything that you say. Speaking quickly also makes you sound more nervous, just so you know. It sounds like you're trying to get whatever you want to say done and finished. So slow down. Use pauses. A short pause before key points gives you time to think, and it adds impact. Emphasize key words. Did you hear the word key? It makes your message stand out. So instead of saying, yes, I think we could try a different approach, I think we could try a different approach. One that focuses more on client engagement. Most people think that confidence comes from being 100% fluent. Nope. Confidence comes from knowing what to say and how to say it. Native speakers fumble their words all the time. Sometimes we change what we're going to say in the middle of a sentence. It's how you recover that makes the difference. Speaking up is a skill, not a talent. I didn't grow up feeling confident at making presentations. It came over time. Some of you have followed me on that journey. Some of you have followed me from when I was a new person at making presentations. And I did speak more quickly. I was trying to get it over with because I was nervous and because I was worried I wasn't saying the right things. We all go through this stage. Speaking up is a skill. You can learn it. You can improve it. Speaking up is a skill, not a talent. You don't need perfect English. You need strategies that help you feel prepared, comfortable, and confident. Most professionals, especially non-native speakers, stay quiet because they feel they need flawless grammar before they can contribute. They feel that their pronunciation must be absolutely perfect before they contribute. It's simply not true. Your ideas are valuable now. And the more practice you get, the easier it is. At the end of the day, you are all experts in your field. What most people do, and why it doesn't work, most people wait until they feel ready. They sit through meetings hoping that one day they'll just open their mouths and say something. I had a student who was exactly in this position. We went through all of his English pronunciation issues, and then I realized he was going to work and still saying nothing because he was worried that they would still judge him, even though his English was great. And I gave him a little bit of encouragement, like you've been getting today. And I remember the first day he opened his mouth, just opened his mouth and agreed with someone. He walked away from that meeting and felt like a king because it works. So, what's the one thing that's stopping you from speaking up? What's the one thing that's stopping you from leaving this bus stop? The feel ready bus stop. Because the day will never come unless you take action. You will never, ever feel confident unless you do something. You will never stand up and speak to an audience until you feel ready. The only way to get over that is to actually do it. So today, I have an e-guide that will help with strategies in order to help you to improve your confidence and expand your networks. So what I'm going to do now is stop the share, put the link into the chat, and then you can all